everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things, and today I have a book review for you. So I finished The Girl in White by Lindsay Currie. Um, I started this book and got like halfway through it and had to return it to the library, and then I got it on Hoopla, I think it was, and listened to the rest of it. And I'm so glad that I got to read this book. I did finish this. When did I finish this? When did I finish? I finished this book 2 days after Halloween, and I was a little sad that I had to wait so long to finish it, but it was good. This is definitely a book to read in the fall, close to Halloween time. I'll tell you why. So this book was on the 2025 preteen teen reading challenge, and I liked it. Okay, let me just read you the little, because I don't have the book on me. Obviously, it's one that I'm gonna order. It's one I'm gonna read again. Um, Obviously, I've already given away my. I liked it. Okay. Okay. The summary for The Girl in White by Lindsay Currie. For fans of Small Spaces and Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine comes the chilling story about 12-year-old girl who must face down the most notorious ghost in her haunted East Coast town to stop a century-old curse that threatens to destroy everything. Mallory hasn't quite adapted to her life in her new town of Eastport yet, but it's because everyone is obsessed with keeping the town's reputation as the most cursed town in the US. And thanks to the nightmares she's had since she arrived, Mallory hardly sleeps. Combined with the unsettling sensation of being watched, she quickly becomes convinced there is more to the town, something dark. When Mallory has a terrifying encounter with the same old woman from her dreams, she knows she has to do something. But what? With Eastport gearing up to celebrate the anniversary of the first recorded legend, Mallory is forced to investigate the one legend she's always secretly been afraid of. Sweet Molly. Yeah. Yeah. Um oh, we're gonna move on to what I wrote in my little book lovers journal, and then we'll go into like some spoilers. But yeah, okay. Title: Girl in White. Author: Lindsay Currie. Genre: middle grade mystery slash horror. The publisher is Sourcebook Young Readers. Number of pages. The book that I had was 320 pages, and then whenever I got it to listen to, it was 7 hours. I started this book October 23rd, 2025, and I finished this book November 2nd, 2025. Why did I choose this book? I heard someone talking about it, and I knew I needed to read this book. So I put it on the challenge. My rating is a 4.5 books ish, somewhere almost completely 5. There are some parts that I was like, um, Audible has it as a 4.4. and Goodreads has it as a 3.78. Would I recommend this book? Absolutely. I don't care how old you are, go out and read this book. Listen to it, read it. Other books by this author, What Lives in the Woods. She has a series, I don't know what the series is called, but there's 2 books in it right now. It's called, the first one is The Mystery of the Locked Rooms, and the second one is The House with No Keys. Sounds interesting. Um, The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street, Scritch Scratch, which I've heard of and I wanna read it, but I haven't yet. It Found Us, which the cover of that one looks so cool. I'm like, X marks the spot. X marks the Haunt, which comes out in January of 2016. That one looks or sounds interesting. Okay. Now, on to my review. Um, Another one that I've written a whole bunch on, and I don't know, I could have just kept writing about this book. I mean, it was 7 hours long. Okay, I really liked this book. Perfect book to read in October. It's got mystery, spookiness, ghost, friendship, and a teeny bit of crush romance, maybe? We'll talk about that. Um, they are 13, so they only hold hands, but is the cutest. The But it was so cute. What the heck was I try okay, let me read what I put, and then let me try to figure out, okay? It was so cute. The his a boy and okay, that he's a boy. He. It's supposed to be he, like He. I put his. Okay. He's a boy. Do I like him? Do I like boys? Hmm. Mallory recently moved to Eastport, Maine from Chicago. Since moving here, she's had nightmares every night. She sleepwalks and finds out the boy next door also has been having nightmares and has sleptwalked since moving here about 3 years ago. The town is obsessed with curses and hold a monthly parade for Molly, who cursed the town after they sent her brother out to sea in a storm. There was there are quite a few twists and turn on Mallory and her small group of friends as they try to make the town see what they've been doing before the town is destroyed. I think that's a good summary of the book, and it doesn't have any spoilers. So, yeah. Got a cat yelling at me down here. Yeah. I really liked it. Will I be picking up more Lindsay Currie books? There might be one on next year's challenge. Which one will it be? I don't know yet. Um, I'm trying so next year's reading challenge is going to be mostly of the books that I own, and then I'm gonna add, like, a handful of from my TBR of stuff that I don't have. And I'm trying not to go all spooky dark books or mysteries. I'm trying to make sure that I put in other stuff because I know not everyone likes mysteries and horror like I do. Um, so it depends on how many mystery horror books I have that are middle grade. um, I mm, we'll find out. Anyway, let's go back to the book that we're talking about. Okay. So, if you don't want any spoilers, now's your time to pause the video and go down into the comments and comment below if you've read this book, if you plan on reading this book, what's your favorite kind of mystery book for middle school kids? Anything you wanna put really, just make sure that it's nice and kind. Um, so yeah, so like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that fun stuff. I really need to just talk about some spoilers. Okay. All right. If you're still here, we're gonna talk spoilers now. So I said there's a cute little romance. Um, so Mallory's neighbor. Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Joshua. His name is Joshua. Her friend's name is her best friend's name is Emmy. And then she also has a friend named Bree. And Emmy knows about the nightmares that she's had. And Bree, they have not told Bree about the nightmares. Bree is kind of one of those girls that's in her own world, but wants to be part of a group. So she's like a theater kid. She has been doing a bunch of acting stuff. And so she's been in her own world. She's kind of been too busy for her friends. And I get that. I think I was probably that kid. I had dance and choir. So, um, so Emmy is the only one who knows about all of the stuff. And, when the book we're gonna start with the beginning. So when the book opens up, before I talk about that little romance, the book opens up and, we've just waken up from a nightmare. And she's so tired, and she has to work at her parents' restaurant. In this small she's living in this small town. Everything is decorated, and she talks about how normally this is the time of year where people start putting up decorations, but we're decorated year round. This year we just add a little more Halloween. And she's "Oh, come here then." "Do you wanna be part of the video?" "Go ahead, meow now, so everyone can hear you." Okay. Um, so she's working at her parents' restaurant, and she's only 13, which to me, I guess nowadays people are like, "Oh, 13-year-olds can't work," but I feel like this was kind of in a different time, but they have cell phones. So maybe I don't know. Maybe small towns are different. But she's working and her dad is like, "Hey, why don't you take the rest of the day off?" And she's like, "Are you sure? It's still early." And he's like, You're looking a little tired. Yeah. So just go home, get some rest." And she's like, "Okay, you don't have to tell me twice." So her plan is to go home, take a nap, and then go hang out with her friend. And she heads home. She runs into the neighbor, and she pretends like she can't hear the neighbor because she's too far away. Uh, she runs a flower shop. She runs a smelly flower shop? Like, not normal flowers, I guess? I don't know. And she's like and she gets to the house, she sets the vibe in her room. She turns on her little twinkle lights, turns off the big light, and she closes the windows because it's starting to rain. And she gets into bed and she falls asleep. Next thing you know, or she had a dream. She has a bad dream. And next thing you know, she wakes up and there's sand everywhere in her room. and she's, like, freaking out because the dream was really scary, and then all of a sudden, she's like, "Did I sleepwalk? Oh my goodness." And then she has a call or a text, I can't remember, from her mom, and her mom is like, "Hey, the neighbor said she saw you at the beach. You were digging around. What happened?" And she was like, "Oh, I, lost my key." And there's a conversation about, "You gotta get a new key ring because that one's broken," and yada, yada, yada. She doesn't wanna get rid of it because it reminds her of home, Chicago, all of that stuff. And then the doorbell rings, and she's like and it rings again, and she's, like, freaking out because she's still in panic mode, and then her friend Emmy texts her and is like, "Hey, are you gonna open the door or not?" So she runs down, she opens the door, and Emmy comes in and plops down on the couch like she owns the place, and she goes, "Oh, you're gonna have to clean that up before your parents get home. They're gonna be mad." And, so then they talk about sleepwalking, and then later she looks at her camera and she sees that she took apparently, while she was sleepwalking, she took a picture of what she was digging. And is she took it was holes, and so her and Emmy, they go and they look at where she was digging, and as they get back, um, she sees the blinds at next door are watching her, and she's like, um, then she has to take pictures for the, one of the parades and for school. And so because she's a photography, student, and so she's taking pictures and time freezes, freezes! And, it's her and Sweet Molly's ghost, and she is, like, trying to get away, and then all of a sudden, Joshua, her neighbor, who she saw before, and he was like, "It's happened to me too," but then Emmy comes up and Joshua has to disperse. Um, and so he's the only one who can move, and I guess because he's like, "Oh, I'm still moving, but everyone else is frozen. What's happening?" And so I wish we had his version of this event because he pops out of the crowd just as Sweet Molly is about to get, um, Mallory. And then, like, things, the spell is broken and everyone is back to normal, and, he she's like, and she stumbles into a person before Joshua gets to her, and the guy's like, "Oh, are you okay, miss?" And Joshua's like, "Oh, I'll take care of her," and, like, grabs her hand and starts going, and from across on the other side of the parade, like, across from Mallory was Emmy, and she tells us all she saw was 1 minute Joshua wasn't there, and the next minute he was there, and he was, like, grabbing Mallory and running off with her, and so she also follows behind because she's like, That's my best friend, Creeper." Um, Emmy is one of my favorite characters because she's like the sleuth. You get some backstory to her. She once went on the hunt for one I don't even know how to explain it. One of the curses, she was like, "Nah, that can't be true." And so she started digging and she found out the truth that it wasn't a curse and that nothing has happened. And then she tried to tell, and like the business that she was breaking the curse on was like, "Hush, hush." And her parents grounded her and the whole story got disappeared that she was trying to say. Um, so now she still goes on these hunts to solve the curse, but at the same time, she doesn't say anything because she doesn't wanna get in trouble. And then as Josh was like, "No, we have to find somewhere we can talk because I gotta tell you what happened to me because it's happening to you." And Emmy's like, "You're still we don't know you. You could be a murderer." And he's like, "At 13, look at my shoe." Like he one of the things that keeps coming up is Mallory really likes his shoes. And they both have the same kind like shoe obsession. And I'm like, it's a middle grade, definitely a middle grade thing, although I still really like shoes, and then Bree, like, finds them, and she's like, "Well, I have to go do some other stuff, but, it for the she was part of the parade or whatever, and she's like, "I gotta go do some other stuff, but, we can meet up at, blah, 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 blah." And they're like, "Oh, and Amy's like, "I gotta go babysit my brother," and then Mallory's like, "Oh, this is the only time I can do this because I gotta go help with the tent for my parents' restaurant." And Bree is like, "Y'all are doing things without me." Dramatic, but they end up, Bree ends up getting indoctrinated later because, she shows up at Mallory's house, and Joshua and Emmy are there, and she's like, finally everything just like blah, 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 out in the public, not public, in the open, where Mallory's like, "I didn't think you'd be able to handle this because you tend to get a little emotional about things." And Bree is like, "I understand, but I have information on Sweet Molly. So you should have come to me because I've been researching her and I'm not going to play Sweet Molly the way they want me to." And Sweet Molly has always been played as like an evil being, like, "I curse you" kind of person, but Breeze found out that technically Sweet Molly did not just die in the town. She lived for a long time after she disappeared into the fog at the lighthouse, um, in a few towns over, and she changed her last name, and, the whole group's like, "Well, then who is haunting me?" And she's like, "Haunting you? Yeah, okay. I thought we didn't believe in this." And, a whole stuff happens, and it is just so funny. I think my favorite part is that little romance I was telling you about. Joshua's mom is part of the town committee, so she's, like, never home, and he's often home alone. And it's raining and it's dark and the power keeps flickering. And so Mallory and him get to, their neighbors. So they get to their houses and she's like, "Do you want to just come over? We can sit by the fire and dry off." And he's like, "Okay." Sorry. So they go in and I don't remember that I think she makes them like hot chocolate or coffee or something like that. Oh, he drinks coffee. He orders coffee when they're at a restaurant, and her and Emmy are like, "What 13-year-old drinks?" I did. Me. Um, yeah, and he's like after the waitress goes away, and they're, like, eyeing their hot chocolate, and they keep looking over at his coffee, like and he goes, "What? I haven't slept in a long time." And then she notices that he has, like, bags under his eyes and all that stuff. Anyway, fast forward back to where we were. And, so she tell they go in and she starts the fire, and explains how why she knows how to start a fire because they lived in Chicago, and every winter since she was born, they've been doing fires. I'm like, that I to me, that wasn't needed. You're using a fireplace. Maybe that was like a precaution type thing, if a 13-year-old was reading the book, it was like, "Hey, I only know how to do this because I have the skill. Have a parent with you," kind of thing. I don't know. Anyway, so she tells him, "Take off your socks and put them by the fire." And he goes, "Why?" And she goes, "So they'll dry." And he goes, "Can't we just throw them in the dryer?" And she goes, "Yeah, but fire." Like, pretty much that's the answer. She's like, and so they're sitting there and they're talking about the curse and like what he's gone through and what she's gone through, and they're trying to figure out what Sweet Molly wants. And they found a compass. Yeah, a compass. I was gonna say pocket watch at first, and I was like, nope, nope, it's the thing you use on the boat. Um, and you learn that there's a like so subscription, no, there's an engraving, and they figure out that it's sweet. This had to be Sweet Molly's brothers. First off, how are they just finding it if it's been like 100 years? Just saying. But anyway, and earlier they had gotten a writing on the mirror in her bathroom that said reverse the course. That's what it was. And they were trying to figure out what that meant. You find out later, and I loved it. I was like, of course. You find out that this year is their big celebration is going to be slightly different because they're going to honor Sweet Molly's brother. And he's going to be the only one that has a talking part, and he's going to be on a ship. And then you found out that Bree got the part of Sweet Molly. And then they're all like, "No, this is not a good idea." And she's like, "You just don't want me to have anything good." Um, there's a moment, and then you find out not long after that that Joshua has the part of her brother. And he's like, "No, I didn't audition for that." And his mom is like, "But look," and she like pulls out an old picture of what her Sweet Molly's brother looked like, and it's like a spitting image. You just have to change the hair a little bit. And he's like, I'm not doing this." And she's like, "You're going to, because you were selected by the mayor himself." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." He's an artist, by the way. He likes to draw and paint. And he's like, "No." And she's like, "You'll do this or I could lose my job." And he's like, "Fine." And so the group of kids leave the office, and they decide they're going to put on their own show. And they rig it so they change up the little poem that is Sweet Molly's poem is the worst. It is so cheesy and like it it's just all bad. So they've rewritten it so it's good. And it explains what happened, why Sweet Molly was upset, and what happened to her brother. I think his name was Liam. I can't remember. And they set up this whole plan so that whenever the mayor goes up and he starts talking, before he starts reading the poem, um, Emmy, who is supposed to be up close and personal taking pictures of the mayor, um, is gonna accidentally pull the cord, so it unplugs his mic. And then Mallory has set up a fog machine, and it's supposed to like set the scene, the fog or whatever, so that no one can see, or so they can't find the cord to plug it back in. And then Bree is supposed to steal the shirts that were going to be given out to the community, the ones that are like working the parade, the event. They have the terrible poem on it. And then she was going to play Mallory her way, sad and upset that, trying to, her face was supposed to portray the sadness that he was leaving. And then Joshua found out that he was going to be on a boat coming towards the dock. And he was supposed to say his lines while the boat was moving. And so he was going to say what they wrote. Well, a storm rolls in and hello, reverse the course. He's on a boat like her brother, and the boat almost I don't know. It's like a hurricane level winds and stuff. And finally, Mallory runs out and she plugs the mic back in and she like just says everything she needs to say. She's like, "Sweet Molly, we're here to help you. So if you could help us get your information out by calming this storm." And the storm calms. And then she says what she needs to say. And then it jumps to a few months later. Months later? I think it was months later. And there's a new commemorative statue of, I think it's just Liam, her brother, Sweet Molly's brother, but it might be Sweet Molly and her brother. I don't remember. And they're not spooky, they're not scary, and they're like good. And Mallory's there and she gets to cut the ribbon for it. And the mayor says something about that day that you changed the curse or whatever it was. I don't remember. Made us see the light or whatever. And then Joshua holds her hand. It was so cute. I do have to say one of my favorite parts of the whole book was when she thinks someone is following her. She thinks she's being followed by a Sweet Molly or something scary. And she's like, and so she takes off running through, like, the shortcut is through the graveyard to her house. And so she takes off running and she realizes she doesn't know where she's going. So she goes into a crypt and then she realizes she just did that stupid thing that the horror movie people do. Went into a space that's closed off. She does that twice, by the way. And then Joshua opens the door. And he's like, and they both scream, and then she says something to him, and he gets out his inhaler, and he's like, and she's like, why didn't you yell out for me? And he's like, you're wearing all white. I thought you were the ghost. I thought you were a person pretending to be the ghost, and I was gonna chase you down and tell you to leave us alone. And she's like, Okay. And then, they both realized that they stepped in mud. It was pretty funny. Like, um yeah. And I like how into the story that her like, of the restaurant that her parents own, um, once upon a time okay, so, like, next door is, like, a coffin shop. It's a casket shop, from what I understand, and the story is that there was a body in a casket, and it came through the wall one stormy day because there was, like, a leak and the wall got wet or something, and, um, but it's funny because I think one of the kids points out that that would never happen because they just sell the caskets, they don't have bodies in 'em. Yeah, but I like how into like, her mom is all like, "Ooh," um, about it, and I really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna have to leave it there. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Comment below if you've read this book. Did you like this book? Um, are all of Lindsay Currie books like this? Should I read more? And, if you haven't read it, I'm sorry if you're still here and I gave you all these spoilers, but does it make you want to read it more or less? Because you know I do a terrible job. Um, and subscribe if you're not sure if you wanna subscribe, you can click my face bubble down here and it'll take you to my channel, and you can go through my other videos and see if it's something that you wanna watch. If I'm someone you wanna watch, I do a lot of book videos, I do book challenges, I do random reviews, I do random reviews of places, and apparently I do crafts now too. Um, that was really fun. I enjoyed the crafting. Maybe maybe crafting for December. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, yeah. Share this video because sharing is caring, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.